Hey guys, my name's Andrew and I'm the head of marketing for Bitcoin.com. I'm excited to welcome you all to the second Verse AMA. The purpose of this call is to provide you with the latest updates on the progress of Verse, get to know some of the team better, and dig into what we're currently focused on, and most importantly, answer your questions. Now, before we get started, I want to ask the people listening at home to be sure to join the Telegram and Discord. And give us a follow on Twitter for the latest updates. All the links are going to be provided in the description below. So I'm joined here today by Andrei, our Director of Engineering, Corbin, our Head of Financial Services, Ben, Group Product Manager, Lizzie, the Verse Development Fund Lead, and a very recent addition, our Verse Community Leader, Lord Defi, who will be leading the AMA. For those of you who don't know, Lord Defi has been one of the most involved community members in Telegram. The guy's always dropping tons of value in the chat. So a bunch of other community members have been requesting that Lord Defi become more involved with the team in some way. So right now we have like 130 people on the Bitcoin.com team. And when I first started seeing Lord Defi in the chat, I just assumed and started asking around, is this somebody from our team? Because this guy was talking about things that we've been discussing ourselves internally, but hadn't released publicly yet. No one knew who he was, so ended up sliding into his DMs. We had a few chats and some video calls and realized that we were aligned and wanted to work together. And we decided to give him the position and title of Verse Community Leader. So very happy to be working with you, Lord Defi. And if you just want to get started by giving an intro, maybe explain what made you interested to get involved with the Verse community, and then we can get straight into the questions.
Thank you, Andrew. Well, I'm Lord Defi. I've been in sort of the crypto space since early 2010, obviously experimenting with Bitcoin back when it wasn't as well known, and then obviously moved into altcoin projects leading up to the DeFi run back in 2019, where I got heavily involved in quite a few different projects, obviously joining teams and participating in different groups. I have built up quite a wealth of knowledge in sort of the DeFi space over the years, and also have the background within the crypto space from prior to that, due to obviously experimenting with different altcoins and different chains. What intrigued me the most about Verse is probably it does fit in line with the vision that I had of what DeFi could become. Like reading through, obviously the white paper, the different bits of information that's been put out on the blog, it does highlight a lot of different areas where a lot of projects do struggle. I mean, looking back at different projects from 2019, a lot of them haven't accomplished anything over the years, whereas obviously with Verse, because it's a staple product of Bitcoin.com, and having monitored the progress of Bitcoin.com over the years, I understand it's a reputable company and they are continuously delivering, as you can see from the progress with the different partnerships and the different products that they have already launched. I mean, it's only been, 2 months since Verse has launched, and you can see the progress that you guys are making. So hats off to you guys on behalf of the community. I have seen a few key members in the Telegram group and across different social platforms mention and highlight that you guys are actually delivering, whereas projects from 2019 are still struggling to do what you guys have done and achieved in 2 months. That's number one, why I'm so intrigued in Verse. But again, having monitored how Bitcoin.com evolved over the years, having seen the amount of people that you have on board who are quite involved in the DeFi space and also in sort of the altcoin space as well, it does definitely paint a very clear picture as to where Verse will go, sort of in the near distant future, in terms of development, in terms of growth and potential.
Well, awesome. I know all of us here at Bitcoin.com are excited that you decided to get more involved, and looking forward to seeing what we can do together in the future. Let's get started with the questions then.
First question that we have is, so how will the Bitcoin.com wallet app adapt to the Verse ecosystem? Will there be any expansion in wallet features such as DApps, and will there be more goodies?
The short answer is yes. That's really going to be a lot of the focus of a lot of the teams within the Bitcoin.com organization from this year into the future. To get to specifics, I think the question was expansion of wallet features such as DApps in particular. So the way I think about it is, like, at the moment, the mobile wallet supports Wallet Connect, but through our own personal experiences, and I think some of the people who use a wallet themselves, it's not particularly the greatest. So we're looking for various solutions, and some things we've considered is our own bespoke protocol. Can we actually like make Wallet Connect work better? Really looking to improve this, and really the overall goal is to make the mobile wallet just a generally better Web3 DeFi wallet as a whole. So will it be maybe just a better protocol that opens dApps natively in a web view in the app? That's one thing we're looking into. Is it going to be more of just like actually a native DApp kind of integration that'll be a little bit more heavier and like less flexible? So that's kind of something that we're kicking around though. Overall, the way I look at it is that we need to get more people that use our mobile app into DeFi and Web3 stuff in general. We want to do that by improving the accessibility and user experience with our current mobile wallet to do so. And kind of as a knock-on effect, but the underlying reason we really believe in this in general is that the more people that get exposure to the cool stuff that exists out there in Web3 and DeFi will naturally be using our token and anything that we build along with that as a first-class kind of option within there. So I know that's pretty vague, but just know that this is like without a doubt the most top line thing we're thinking of. So when we have more to share,
one thing to jump in on that, because I think everyone's kind of reluctant and scared to like leak too much, but we will be sharing a public roadmap quite soon, which is going to include a little bit more context, I think, to what Ben was saying here. One of the things we do have to be somewhat careful of, especially when it comes to like a dApp store or something like that, is that iOS and Apple, they have a tendency to not enjoy dApp stores. So like often the wallets that do include them have had issues where, Steve Jobs and his cronies or whoever's left of them are all like, none of that. We're going to shut you down. Got a dApp store that's competing product with what we're doing. So how we approach that kind of has to be careful. But many other wallets have kind of found some ways to do it, but it kind of becomes one of these things where it's see what we can get away with, and we're actively investigating that. So it's going to happen. Yeah.
It's a dApp browser, not a dApp
it's
store.
It's a Web3 browser and not a dApp store. That's the big way to frame it. Yeah.
I understand the complexities of obviously legalities and stuff. So bringing DeFi to the people is it's an easy task, but obviously maintaining compliancy and keeping it running for as long as possible without being under the watch, being borderline, like a lot of DeFi projects are, it is quite a difficult task. So yeah, again, I totally understand where you're coming from, Corbin. It'd be a lot different
if we were like this fully anonymous team of, monkey JPEGs and stuff like that, where we're just like, cowboys, we don't give a shit. We're going to, we're going to do whatever we want. But yeah, we got our names on it and stuff. So we're kind of hell bent on legal requirements and just making sure that we're, keeping our partners in these app store listings on our team and not feeling like we're doing anything to like poke the bear, but also like, we want to make sure that we're providing the best user experience for everyone, and while being fully compliant and, bending the knee when Gary requires us to. So.
And just one thing to add here, just because I think we went on a tangent about just the specific dApp store, dApp browser thing. If the question is how will the Bitcoin.com wallet adapt to the Verse ecosystem, some of the stuff I already said that directly addresses this is that we're going to be rolling out a bigger multi-chain focus, and first of that will be actually making Ethereum support and ERC20 tokens in general like a better experience within our wallet, which is something that I think we can very much improve from the current state. That alone will make Verse a better value proposition within the wallet. But kind of along with that, we're doing a bit of a UX redesign with just kind of the general way that assets are being managed and considered within the mobile wallet. So I can expand on this a bit. At the moment, we're very much kind of blockchain first, where your wallets are kind of being organized on your home screen, for example, by blockchain. First and foremost, we're going to kind of be changing the focus to really be more asset based, and your wallets and all the stuff that exists will still be there, but just kind of in a new tab. And we're really going to use that as the stepping ground to promote Verse for one, but also just that's kind of the way most people think about things now, now that there's like tokens that are on different chains and so on and so forth. So we're really like kind of doubling down on this focus.
Thank you, Ben. So moving on to question number 4. So this is directed at Andrew. How will Verse ensure regulatory compliance and avoids legal and regulatory hurdles as the Verse project evolves and grows?
Yeah, so when it comes to regulatory compliance, crypto projects definitely face a unique set of challenges. They have to jump through hoops of working within frameworks of many different jurisdictions. Each of those have different rules. Regulations constantly changing, being such a new and disruptive space. A lot of stuff exists in like a gray area of uncertainty today. Now, for us, we're made up of a team of engineers, designers, support staff, content creators, marketers, etc. And we have a great compliance and legal team who are there to provide us all with guidance every single step of the way, from what product decisions we make to who we decide to partner with to how we can speak about things publicly. So to give you an example, for the Verse public sale, I think all of us on this call would have loved to see as many people be able to participate as possible. But because of regulation, we had to have a list of countries that were excluded, including the United States, where our biggest user base currently is. So also something that I think is sad in this space is that scammy projects who don't care about regulation, they have an advantage that honest ones don't. They can create a project anonymously. They can promise you the moon, literally, to build up hype in a way that we'd never be able to. So yeah, I think with any of this, we just follow the advice of our compliance and legal team, and to make sure that what we're doing is building something that's sustainable, honest, and always fully compliant.
Thank you, Andrew. I do appreciate, as mentioned previously, compliance and remaining legal is sort of the staple that a lot of DeFi projects do tend to forget, because to remain within the space for a prolonged period and remain compliant is two different things altogether, because you can promise the moon, but once you get onto once you get into legal issues by promising that the token will increase, etc., there's a lot of hurdles that you need to overcome, and a lot of DeFi projects do tend to fail with that. So again, I do appreciate that.
Yeah, I think just like to add on to that, I think a lot of token projects in general are incentivized to like go big and burn out in a blaze of glory, so to speak. I mean, you could kind of see it, like even most recently with FTX, right? It's just like, okay, just keep doing the next thing, keep doing the next thing, keep doing the next thing, and we'll figure it out later. And in the end, it kind of all falls apart like House of Cards, right? And then, but you know, during that period, they were able to raise billions and billions of dollars. They were able to, you know, be talking to politicians, making all sorts of donations, all these kind of things. I think that happens like at a way smaller scale for like a lot of crypto projects, where it's just like, yeah, just launch this thing. We'll promise X, Y, Z, and then it's like, well, like if it fails, it fails. Yeah, we're anon. Nothing will happen. So we kind of have our unique set of circumstances where we kind of need to move a bit more slowly, but I think the end result is we can do something that's a lot more sustainable compared to other projects in this space.
So this one's directed at Lizzie. So what kind of projects or proposals are you looking for to be included in the Verse grants? And do you have any tips for getting accepted?
Sure. Thank you. So, well, the Verse Community Grants goal ultimately is to support Web3 projects that deliver long-term value, and the emphasis is on long-term value to the Verse ecosystem and to our users. So in terms of the projects that we look for, this can range anywhere from incorporating Verse on different blockchains as a utility token in your project, or perhaps building off existing Verse products that are already in our ecosystem, like our DEX and ufarms. So we do have a list of guidelines, and that's listed on our grants page at getverse.com/grants. Applicants can choose to submit proposals under one of the 4 categories that are listed there, or respond to a request for proposal which our team will put up from time to time, if there are any that's going on. Right now there aren't, but there will be some coming soon. So you can check again the page for more details. Just having reviewed some of the applications that have come in, I do want to provide some tips or best practices on submissions. So the first one is, if you are a new founder or a project, please be sure to include your team profiles and successful projects that you have delivered in the past. A lot of times the applications that come in all mention a great idea and then they have no supporting documentation whatsoever. This is unfortunately not in line with the way we want to do things here. We want to make sure that our projects have been vetted properly and pass proper due diligence. So do make sure to include any successful projects that you've delivered in the past. We typically look for founders who have a proven track record, that have launched and have been in the market for a while. So the reason being that although we are committed to supporting new projects, we must also consider the higher risk of rug pulls, something I think Andrew just covered earlier. So do include details of your past work. The second thing is, if you are one of many projects in a competitive space, please make sure that you highlight in your application how you stand out from other leading market providers. So as an example, we get a lot of applications who want to offer token analytics, and they're asking for quite a considerable sum of money. Now, as an analytics provider, the question we would ask is, how is your project any different from DeFi Llama or Dune that, we already have dashboards for? How is that different? Why do you think you should get funding from that? So we're looking for a unique value proposition that will be able to add additional value for Verse to what we already have. And I guess lastly, for people who are looking to receive funding for marketing related projects, just to note that we do assess against industry standard rates for marketing or influencer engagement. So do ensure that your proposal is priced within reasonable standards.
Yeah, and just one thing I wanted to add to
for
that as well.
Everyone who has submitted and also received a pass this round, I just want to say this is definitely not the end of the world.
Maybe it's better to
again,
start with
we
like
do
a
want to
smaller
encourage
project
quality
where we're able to
applications,
assess-
but also at the same time ensure that our community is getting access to the best possible DApp experience that our ecosystem can provide. So for prospective applicants who are looking to reapply again, do review our guidelines, submit that application if you believe that your projects are aligned with what we are looking for.
So yeah, one thing I just wanted to add, if you did apply and you were turned down, and maybe your project had a high cost or a long duration, I suggest coming back to us with adjusted terms for something smaller to start. And if we see if it's going well, then we can definitely expand to a longer time or a larger amount of money.
So just to question that just a bit further, would it not make sense to eventually have a page where community members can vote on grants that may be beneficial to the project?
Well, I think that's definitely a possibility. Corbin, do you want to add on?
We've got various ENS names registered that will be applying onto snapshot.org pretty soon. So yeah, the intention is to eventually allow more and more Verse holders to participate within the community. So we kind of see this whole thing that we're doing with Verse as kind of like a the decentralization becomes the goal. And I think that's still kind of the goal with a lot of, say, DAOs, is that they start off a little bit more centralized and gradually over time, begin opening up for more community feedback and more decentralization across, say, be that like node implementations, if they support something like that, or if it's just purely based on like, say, LP distribution and LP vote power and things like that. But yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at, is like how basically building out this ability for us to entice and encourage people to hold Verse and actually participate within what we're doing and help steer not only Verse, but also Bitcoin.com and some of the potential touch points there. So this is all stuff that's on the roadmap. I think it all kind of begins with, a small proposal and then basically just kind of getting it to a point where we can, build out, say, the voting power metrics for that. So, something we would probably be looking at. This has not been announced or not been defined. So this is just me shooting from the hip. So take that with a grain of salt, please. But, if you're holding Verse, that might be worth a specific vote. Maybe it's like 0.5. If you're holding staked Verse, it might be worth 1. If you're holding, say, time-locked staked Verse, that might be worth 1.5. Things like that. And basically creating a bit of a tier system where we do have the ability to, say, encourage or enhance the vote of the most devout community members and the most, say, loyal token holders and folks that believe hardest in the project. Yeah, we do definitely see that as an opportunity to enhance the project and bring in more people from the community. And I think it does present some interesting kind of gamification as well, where, if you are a project and you're like, well, sure would like to be able to put a proposal into the team for, say, a co-farm. Maybe we've got our own token and we want to do farms on it with it and on the Verse decks, then certainly, if they are holding tokens, they can put their finger on the scale and say, I'm going to vote for that one. So yeah, I think it's all a good thing. I think there's lots of fun stuff we can do in within the DAO space and bring in some already existing tools and perhaps even integrate those into the wallet and things like that as well.
That's a great answer. Thank you, Corbin. So I'll just move on to the question that's directed at you as well. So how will you ensure the transparency and accountability in the governance of Versecoin? And what role will community feedback play on shaping its future direction? So it's kind of a similar question to what you've answered, but I'm guessing it's just asking for what sort of transparency and accountability Verse will provide for the community.
I think that's a great question. We, obviously just given the fact that we're on a blockchain, we're on Ethereum, everything's fully accountable. You can see which of our addresses are, the Verse fund, the development fund, the ecosystem fund, team allocation, and, how those funds are being deployed. Just with Etherscan. But what we are looking at doing is, adding, like I said, more decentralization to what we're doing at Verse. Andrei alluded to this earlier in the call with regards to we're not calling this a treasury, but we are earning fees from the DEX, and say this account that is accruing these fees does have the potential to be used in different ways, be that through buyback and burn, be that through perhaps enhancing rewards on specific farms or on specific pairs, or even using within the community as well. So this does present some opportunities for the community to be able to participate in letting their feedback be known. And that's something we want. So, if you're not in the Verse Telegram yet, come join us there. Of course, Lord DeFi is hanging out there. You'll often see Andrew there. I chime in from time to time when I'm not, busy changing diapers at night. But we've also got the Discord. So come hang out there. We're always keeping an eye out as well on just general feedback. I think one of the things that, Ben and Andrei and a few others within Bitcoin.com have also been talking about is just, enabling some of the tools that will allow people to create long form content. While Telegram and Discord is, it's a great way to communicate and kind of get the latest alpha and the latest info and the latest kind of updates. It's kind of a transient communication method. And I think if you are someone who maybe wants to put in a detailed proposal, and you want that public and you want people to be able to participate in voting, there are specific tools that do that type of thing better. So we are looking at that, and we're looking at releasing those in conjunction with our public roadmap. So I think this does present some opportunity for us to share more information, but also to get more feedback from, say, public proposals and, more detailed, say, communication. One of the things I really liked was, I think it was with the Uni, there was a Uni DAO vote on launching Uni V3 on BNB, I believe, trying to basically launching V3 before the V3 license opens up in April, where the assumption is, anyone's going to be able to use Uniswap V3, and immediately you'll have copycats kind of moving in, and it's kind of better for Uni to capture that. And yeah, there's an opportunity there for, early uni investors and the wider community and different bridging protocols to all weigh in on the technical merits of these different protocols. And I think that level of communication, that level of discussion and debate is kind of needed in a more decentralized protocol. And it's probably not best to do that in forms like on Telegram or even on Discord. Like you can have, the breakouts and one-on-ones and little chats here and there. But I think to have that more like refined, debate does require specific tools, and that's stuff we're looking at. So yeah, I think from that standpoint, we're really just making sure that, communities are empowered. I think just going back to, Bitcoin.com, we've been around for ages, 2015. So like very few companies have survived the number of bull and bears that we have. We've got a great team across everything from product engineering, design, marketing, legal, compliance, and all of these different aspects of the business kind of keep us, rowing the boat regardless of market sentiment. And, we're bringing that same work ethic into Verse and to support both the token longevity. Yeah.
Thank you for answering that, Corbin. So I guess the community will appreciate your answer. It does go into detail about the future of the sort of DAO and governance protocol, and also what different wallets operate and how you can view those on the blockchain. So again, thank you very much for answering that. So we'll move on to the next question, which is directed at Andrei. So why did you make Verse unlock on a block by block basis? So I'm guessing it's asking why you chose that instead of, for example, a cliff or a different unlock schedule.
Yeah, I think there's a couple reasons there. I guess we've kind of talked, is one of the kind of big themes of this entire call has been, thinking about the long term and trying to do a slower burn instead of trying to, fly too close to the sun kind of situation. So the block by block basis, obviously it makes the tokens emit way slower compared to a lot of projects. So, what you'll see with a lot of projects, they might have big unlocks at the beginning or at certain cliffs. And, since those teams don't have any sort of revenue or anything to fall back on, what ends up happening, sell in order to try and, pay people, pay vendors, whatever. We have the luxury of being able to move a lot slower. That means our market cap is, a lot smaller at the beginning, and kind of can grow linearly with the emission schedule potentially. It gives time for people to discover the project compared to, a lot of sales will have huge advantages for the first people, to the point where, if you're a new person interested in Verse or whatever project, you're already too late in many ways compared to big VCs or something like that. I think we focused a lot additionally of our strategy on getting liquidity on the decentralized exchange as opposed to centralized exchanges. I know a lot of people love talking about why is there no centralized exchange? But the decentralized exchanges also provide you the ability with a lot more transparency of where tokens are moving in the early stages, who's moving them where. I think anyone can say from our community that there's been no funny business. As Corbin mentioned before, all the wallets are public. And yeah, just kind of growing our DEX along with our token kind of for a sustainable future, right? So, we can have a sustainable emission, don't have to go around and just sell a bunch of tokens at certain cliffs and say, oh yeah, we had to sell all those because, I don't know, some we need to pay some vendor or something. Yeah, so I think just that sustainability aspect is really key for the linear unlocks.
Thank you, Andrei. I couldn't have explained it better. Again, with multiple different projects that I've worked with, multiple different projects I've been involved in are invested in different release schedules, kind of paint different charts, and obviously different. It shows the longevity of the actual project, because I've seen it multiple times where cliff periods do tend to. Cliff release schedules do tend to impact the project a lot more than having that linear schedule where users are slowly getting their tokens. Again, I totally appreciate what you've just said. It does definitely make sense. So we'll just move on to the question for Corbin. So it does kind of link into everything that's been mentioned so far, but what makes Verse different to other solutions that are in the market currently?
I think I kind of mentioned this earlier in the call, but the big thing is that, Bitcoin.com already has this existing ecosystem. So, a lot of AMM protocols that exist are kind of starting from square one. They've got, no users, perhaps an idea. And this is, again, kind of what Andrei alluded to, is that they've got nothing to lose. They've got to oversell, overhype. You're betting on a hair with us, guys. We're going to promise you the moon. And, people get excited, and sometimes they either fail to deliver or they have a, real hard time capturing more people. So yeah, I think one thing that makes us very different than, say, your run of the mill new AMM protocol that's maybe just another fork of something, is that we've got this existing ecosystem. So 38 million wallets created within the Bitcoin.com non-custodial wallet. It's a multi-chain wallet that supports Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, Polygon, Avalanche, all the ERC20 tokens you need. And we're expanding onto more chains very soon. So we'll be launching at least a couple more chains in 2023 here. We're also investigating some exciting things in the L2 space. We've been kind of hinting at this in some areas as well, but yeah, we are looking at some of the cool things that are happening in the ZK space. So it's stuff to kind of keep an eye on. We've got the ability to activate, say, all of these millions of users as well as their assets under management. Now, of course, these assets under management are all non-custodial. So it's not like we can just be like, hey, we're just going to dump all their AUM into this thing. We've got to actually go out and explain to them and sell our users on like why this is a good thing and why it's an opportunity for them. So there's this incentive for us to do that in order to activate their AUM to support the TVL within the DEX, but also to support, say, the swap volume. We want people to be swapping through the Verse DEX when appropriate, and we'll be guiding them and kind of creating these like libertarian, paternalistic activation points within the wallet to make sure that we're capturing the right swap volume when it's appropriate. I would say we've also got the largest funnel within all of crypto. So, you look at any other project, any other DeFi project, very few have a super strong brand or a super strong domain. Bitcoin.com is one of the largest, maybe even the biggest domain name in crypto. We've got a constant flood of organic traffic that comes to Bitcoin.com to start their crypto journey. And, regardless of how cool, say NFTs and GameFi and stuff like that are, the biggest and probably only one that matters, the only thing that matters in the next bull run is going to be how many Bitcoin users can you activate into DeFi. And it's not how fun is your GameFi thing. Nobody's coming in to just GameFi right now. Like there's some cool stuff happening, but it's not the big funnel. The big funnel is Bitcoin, and Bitcoin.com's got the biggest funnel. So I think like when it comes to that, you're going to have a very hard time outspending the organic acquisition that Bitcoin.com gets. You look at like Uniswap, you look at all these things, they're very technically cool. There's some exciting things, but they don't have a giant funnel. They're paying for all their, all their LP, all their users, and they're going to have a tough time outspending a big domain name like Bitcoin.com. So, and then I think the other thing is just buy back and burn. I mean, it's in the white paper. I can't say too much without legal threatening to like come at me and be like, our legal guy's like super jacked too. He's like way more jacked than me. So he'd probably beat me in a fight. So I don't want to piss him off too much, but buy back and burn. It's in the white paper. Go read it. I can't say too much on that, but yeah.
Thank you, Corbin. That was quite enticing and borderline. I've seen Andrew's face bright up a bit. was just going to move into the questions that are directed at Andrei, and I think it's Ben as well. So first of all, we'll start off with what are the plans for other chains coming to Verse? So I'm guessing it's asking what the plans are for bridging to different chains. So this is directed at Andrei.
Yeah, okay, so there's a couple things, right? So before that, maybe let's say, why did we choose ETH? A lot of the things we talked about was like, oh, we're going to be really focused on low fee, making this thing accessible for normal people. We have all these Bitcoin users. Why do we choose on ETH, where for a lot of these people who are maybe just starting out, ETH is too expensive. It's too expensive is the main thing compared to maybe all these new chains like Polygon, Avalanche, Binance Chain, whatever. I think ETH is still kind of forming the base layer for the DeFi ecosystem. So, at the end of the day, there's still the most TVL there. There's probably the most, let's say, organic users compared to, let's say, bots or something that might happen on other chains. So it's a good starting point. In terms of bridging to other chains, yes, that's a goal. We obviously want to reduce fees for our users. We already support Polygon and Avalanche in the wallet. And I think like the easy thing for us to do would be just say, okay, let's just, Polygon's hot right now. Let's send Verse to Polygon. It's going to be cheaper there. And I think that potentially creates an issue where still to this day, like, I think a lot of the L2 chains are going to be around for a while, but it's still unclear like which ones are really going to be long-term sustainable. Is it going to be Polygon? Is it going to be Avalanche? Is it going to be Binance Smart Chain? It's still hard to say. So we're kind of adopting a more wait and see approach. Now we're seeing this new, as Corbin was talking about, with the ZK roll-ups coming up online. Are people still going to want to use L2s? Like, I don't know. I can't give like the answer for that right now. So we're first trying to really focus on, activating a lot of people into this second layer. Second chain, which is Ethereum, kind of squeezing the juice out of the Verse DEX on there, as Ben talked about earlier, trying to have a top TVL DEX on there. And that's another thing, right? So for new projects, no one's going to want to try and, unless you've come up with some crazy innovation, you're not going to try and be the best DEX on Ethereum. It's too hard. The liquidity is already sucked up by Curve and Uniswap and whatever. So, kind of going back to the hard and fast approach, like, you have to be able to be willing to go for a very, very long game, long term at this point to try and be a successful AMM on Ethereum. So we start there, and we're kind of just still thinking about what the best place to go to next is. But yeah, the main thing is we're still going to be squeezing as much juice out of Ethereum as we can. Building up TVL there, still monitoring all the new innovations coming up, whether it be L2s or roll-ups or things like that. And then kind of we'll see, right? So the one thing we don't want to do is to start just fragmenting a Verse everywhere, and then you kind of have these like tiny pockets of liquidity on 40 chains, and then it's like, well, great, you're on 40 chains, but nobody's using any of them, and then you've got like $10 of liquidity on each one, and it just ends up being, a worse experience in the end for the user. So yeah, it wasn't. I think the place we are going to expand is in terms of just more chain support, like through the wallet and stuff. So obviously the EVM chains, keep rolling out those, and then we'll look at some other maybe UTXO chains or privacy chains later.
Thank you, Andrei. It does paint a clear picture again for the growth potential of Verse. And obviously moving on to these different chains is definitely something that the community is looking forward to. I mean, there is a lot of hype across new chains, such as Arbitrum, Aptos, and other chains. So again, I totally appreciate it's not something that can just happen straight out of the box, but obviously you guys are definitely working towards it. And as you've explained, it's definitely in the pipeline. So the community will definitely like that answer. So thank you once again. So we'll just move on to another question that was directed at you and Ben. What measures have you taken to ensure security, particularly in light of the increasing frequency of hacking and fraud attempts in the DeFi space?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, we kind of follow all the industry best practices, get audits from reputable firms. We work with QuantStamp, Certic, ZeroXGuard. Make sure our DEX contracts are audited, our token contracts are audited, our farms are audited. The wallet itself is audited by Kudelski Security. So obviously following all those. In my mind, a lot of security with, let's say, cryptocurrency comes from, let's say, battle testing. So Bitcoin.com wallet has been around now for, let's say, this version of the Bitcoin.com wallet has been around for 3 to 4 years now. Never had any serious incidents. You had, just even last year, I forget what wallet, Slope wallet. Maybe I'm misremembering. Some Solana wallet, had some bug in the wallet where a bunch of users' funds got drained. At this point, we're way, 4 years of battle testing is kind of saying, okay, hey, this is another aspect, checkbox of like, okay, this thing's secure. In terms of trying to do things that are like new and fancy in the DeFi space, this might not be the sexiest answer, but we're looking at other projects and really waiting for them to also be battle tested before we say, okay, let's adopt this, right? It's the same thing where if we're the first ones to use this new sexy bridge that is being developed, well, that's great until that bridge turns out to have a 0-day exploit and all the funds are gone. So it's like, great, you were first, but then you lost everyone's money. So we're kind of taking a more slower approach on those kind of things. So yeah, I would say definitely the three things I would circle back on is industry best practices on the audit side, on contracts and the wallet. Basically having a long track record of battle testing, not losing users' funds, never having any private key compromises, and adopting sort of a wait and see approach on new things that come in the space, which lets someone else be pioneers get killed, but settlers can basically live or whatever. So taking that approach to things. Man, that was a terrible quote. I gotta look that one up later. I swear there's an actual quote for that. But yeah, that's my answer for that one.
Just to add on to that, I would say that kind of unique for us is we have a pretty long-standing brand reputation to uphold, and the fact that we have this mobile wallet that has this funnel from very retail unsavvy new to crypto people is a really constant reminder about kind of who our audience is and who we have to kind of in a way protect and make sure that what we're putting out there isn't gonna both from a nefarious kind of bad actor exploitative kind of way, but also be understandable and put in a way where people can't get wrecked or mess up in a way that might be able to justify as not our fault, right? So I want to say that I think from everything we do is there's always a question of is this going to work for our user base, and is this actually going to be is it tested, as Andrei said.
Yeah, did you guys want to mention Happy or what we've done in the wallet to help prevent these new users from getting scammed or losing all their funds?
Yeah, for sure. So it's less like on the security side of, let's say, the product. One thing that we're also trying to, I think, from the security side is kind of preventing scams and preventing people from falling prey to scams. The number one way that people lose money lose money in crypto is not through, let's say, hacks or bridge exploits or things like that. It's through scams. Like that is the number one source of let's say, retail fund loss in crypto. We've recently partnered with a firm called Happy, HAPI, and they've kind of got a great API for being able to pre-screen addresses for users. So this is something a user can enable, and if it appears in some database saying like, oh, this is a hacker or this is a scam or whatever, we'll display that to the user and say like, hey, this might be a scam. Are you sure you want to send to this? And at that point, a lot of users will stop. Some people will still do it. But trying to protect users in that way without like taking custody of their funds, right? So like the other side of the coin is like, users can't manage their own funds. They lose private keys. They fall prey to scams. So the safest thing for them to do is, deposit in an exchange, hold, never do anything. We don't want to take on that mentality, but we want to be able to say like, hey, this might be a scam or a blacklisted address or whatever. Are you sure you want to do this? And then kind of leave it up to the user to make the most educated decision they can. And being able to secure funds in that way, it's kind of a different approach, but same thing, preventing hacks, preventing users from getting scammed. At the end of the day, that helps retail users, first-time crypto purchasers and things like that.
Thank you, Andrei. So obviously coming from a financial background, working in several banks and currently working as a senior fraud coordinator, it does definitely make sense. Social engineering is definitely one of the main sort of reasons why customers and users lose their funds. So I definitely appreciate that answer, and I do connect well with that. So thank you. So just moving on to the next question, which is directed at Ben. Will Verse be opening staking pools? If so, how will they be structured? And also, will they be locked or will it be free to move?
Unfortunately, this is going to be a boring answer. I can't share that much yet about what we're going to do because, frankly, we haven't really confirmed exactly what we're going to do in this regard. I mean, what I can tell you in terms of like how we're thinking about this problem and how we're thinking about, an actual product to offer to people is that, I think we already have a rewards mechanism, aka the farms and the decks, to actually reward people who want to kind of hold Verse and put it somewhere. Now, going forward with that, I do think having staking as an option makes a lot of sense. But we need to find something either existing or something that we create ourselves that makes sense in terms of there's a balance where we can reward people participating while also being kind of sustainable and scalable economically. So what does that look like? I can't really say quite yet, but yeah, more to come in that.
Thank you, Ben. Obviously, with the answers, they can't be revealing everything because obviously the white paper and roadmap will definitely paint that picture. But again, I do appreciate the answer. It's as close to an answer as we can get at this moment in time without revealing too much. So we'll just move on.
Though I will admit it's a non-answer.
So what we'll move on to the final question, which is directed at Andrew. One of the main sort of features from the Bitcoin.com ecosystem, which a lot of community members are quite hyped and intrigued to know more about, is the debit cards. So you did mention, obviously, the crypto debit cards are on the horizon. How do you intend on releasing these to the users? So I'm guessing what it's asking is there going to be sort of any restrictions, or will it be open to any verse holder, or will it be open to the general public as well?
So yeah, for those of you listening who don't know, a major future project for us is the Bitcoin.com debit card. So the reason that this is so important is when I speak to people who are new to crypto, be that friends, family, or new users, there's two things they want to know right off the bat. And it's usually, how do I buy crypto, and how do I sell or spend that crypto? So we at Bitcoin.com, we envision a future where every single business accepts crypto as a payment method. And if you check out maps.bitcoin.com, we have a place where we track hundreds of thousands of merchants who currently do, with new ones being added every day. But there's still a huge gap. So the card is what I've heard Corbin and Dennis and others referred to as the hybrid car solution. So the hybrid car will kind of bridge the gap by allowing users or drivers to the ability to use gas for the times and places they lacked electric charging stations. So same for the card, as it allows our users to spend their crypto anywhere that cards are accepted, restaurants, stores, online, pulling cash out of the ATM. And how Verse fits into that, or will fit into it, is we plan on giving cashback rewards in Verse when you use the card. And there are some other discussions we're having around things like different tiers for the card, possibly based on how much Verse you hold or you stake. Those are all things that we'll dig into future calls. So as far as launch strategy is concerned, we're targeting launching the US market first. It'll be available to all Americans. Looking to expand to other regions after that. Now, like a project like this, it definitely takes some time. There's a lot of hurdles to get over, as it requires working with lots of partners, like banks and credit card companies. So right now the team is showing great progress, moving forward every day on this, and we're all really excited.
Thank you, Andrew. It does definitely paint a clear picture. Again, it falls in line with what I envisioned for DeFi to be back in 2019, but again, a lot of projects did fail on. Just to add to that question, what will the Bitcoin.com debit card have which differs from other market leaders? So to say, for example, Binance or other crypto firms' debit cards, because again, those are mostly provided to sort of high balance holders, for example. So how will Bitcoin.com combat that?
I mean, I think number one, right, it's going to be the first decentralized wallet product that has a card, right? Full stop, right? That Binance and Coinbase, Gemini, who else was around for a while? BlockFi, before they exploded. The reason that they could do cards was their exchanges. they held all the funds, and for some users that's fine, but there isn't a single wallet in the entire marketplace that has a card, and that kind of goes back to Andrew's point of being able to still use a non-custodial wallet, but get some of these convenience features. Oh, I want to cash out. Oh, I want to spend. Oh, I want to do X, Y, Z, and use it on an as needed basis. I think this transition from TradFi to DeFi is going to take many years. And kind of, as Andrew mentioned, right, we're providing this hybrid approach where you can be mostly, let's say, in crypto, but when you need it, you can use this card instead of being like, oh, I have, $500,000 of crypto on Binance, and I also get this card, right? Like, that's not really, I don't know, the future. I think for as you the vision of DeFi is not that ultra wealthy people get these huge rewards on cards and things like that. It's much more of, moving towards where crypto can be your let's say, main asset, but you can kind of use the traditional finance rails as much as you want, need, or don't want, so don't need. Yeah, so I think that's kind of like, for me, really, it makes building the card for us a lot harder, but I think it'll be a really cool product in the end. And for people that really buy into the, let's say, decentralized thesis, I don't think that there's any competition that would still let you like be decentralized and still have a card. So that's my thought.
Thank you, guys. Again, just going into sort of the core ethos of crypto, it was always meant to be sort of a decentralized way of transacting with another without needing to sort of use fiat. However, it has recently changed into sort of a pump and dump where you're increasing your wealth and then obviously selling and then having to convert it back to fiat. So obviously bringing those debit cards into the decentralized space is definitely going to be a very, very major bonus for the Bitcoin.com ecosystem. And also it will sort of fit in line with the core thesis of DeFi, as you mentioned, Andrei. So thank you very much for answering that.
Well, awesome. I think that's the end of the questions we have for tonight. Big thank you to you, Lord DeFi. That was lots of fun. Thank you to the rest of the team here for joining the call tonight. I know it's really late for some of you, and I really appreciate it, and I'm sure the viewers do as well, for some insight into what it is you and your teams are working on. And thanks to all of you for tuning in to Verse AMA. As a reminder, be sure to download the Bitcoin.com wallet app and check out the Verse Dex. We also encourage you to join in on some of the best APY currently available by providing liquidity and farming your LP tokens. And don't forget to stay tuned for future updates. And most importantly, get involved in the community. Head over to the Telegram and Discord channels to connect with others in the Verse community and the Bitcoin.com team and share your thoughts and ideas. The links are below in the description. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the chats.